at all. The only blip being an OT win versus Direwolves, the team with only one win so far this entire campaign. That was over Q confirmed back on Playday 2. In terms of Cafe, though, both teams, I think, are going to feel comfortable probably coming over to this map, at least for their own sake.
Look, if you don't feel comfortable on Cafe by now, I don't know where you've been for the last 3 years, because I say it every time, I'll say it again. This map is, it's pretty thought through by now. The meta's pretty set in stone, honestly, at this point. Attacks, red hatch, map clear, and the defensive setups now are very similar. You'll see small variations here or there, but that will mainly come down to aggression, as well as the bans as well that are being brought out. Line off the board means we might see a bit more of a roam game here from teams. Thatcher a staple, so not too much to comment on that in that regard. Now, in terms of defense, Mirror is a staple here on Cafe. We'll have to see if that is one of the defensive bans. It'll actually be Wamai off first, Mirror then likely to be second. So that does mean that whilst the attack can play a little bit more aggressive on the roam with Lion off the board, in terms of actually setting up utility off site, that might be a little bit more challenging as there's less projectile denial.
Final ban just taking a little bit of time here from Invictus, as we probably expect the mirror and do indeed find the mirror. Third map of the night. For Invictus Gaming, a win here doesn't guarantee them top spot. Of course, off the back of Chiefs' win, they can still theoretically get above 14 points, which would be the number Invictus find themselves in after a win. Fun fact, though, next Playday will be Chiefs versus IG. So whatever happens here, guys, it will be a must-win game for the Chiefs if they are to contend for that top spot. If they are to have any hope, they will then have to beat IG, unless IG say lose this game, for instance, and then, well, then that probably makes next week very tantalizing. But still, nonetheless, Invictus Gaming going to be on the defense here to kick things off in the first half. Direwolves will be attacking.
Yeah, the most exciting storyline and probably the most stressful for Invictus is if they lose this matchup, because it again just compresses the field even further. It's always super close here in APAC South, but that would make the run home, the last couple of play days for that first spot, for that auto qual to the major, even more intense. So really, really exciting stuff. I'm very cautious when I say that. I again still believe Invictus should well and truly confidently take this matchup, but who knows, it could be a full moon tonight. We've seen stranger things, that's for sure. So we'll have to wait and see. Invictus being on the defense could be a great sign. If Dai was feeling confident and up and about, you can make things work here on Cafe, particularly again on the attack, because the meta is so stale. Teams are finding it increasingly more difficult to defend a lot of these staple sites.
Yeah, and I do agree. I think that by the meta on Cafe being a little bit stale or, you know, sort of overdone, we've seen everything. It's kind of hard to surprise anyone here. Even just a minor, little tiny tweak here or there on any sort of setup or even attack, or the way that you sort of want to play this, can actually then have a much larger effect than you would even realize. Even just sort of a random jump out or a random spawn peak, or if you just set up slightly differently, for instance, I think can actually throw a team off on a map that doesn't see much innovation. Doesn't mean we usually get it, though. Teams just like to keep it to what they know works. Especially when you have two teams that have generally played well on Cafe, you probably aren't going to see that much, you know, tweaking or innovation. I think usually it's the teams that maybe don't have as much success on a map that do tend to play things slightly differently. But nevertheless, yeah, already, one thing I will say, this east side push from Direwolves isn't quite the conventional take for Bar Cocktail.
No, definitely a little bit unusual. Again, typically teams drop Red Hatch for almost any objective to get a foothold in shop and expand their control that way. Instead, it's an East Repel, ED. Oh, that's a great start, and a need to follow up there, the 2K. The Claymore was the first pick, but Luna does trade one back. That's the pitfall, as they have control down below the defense, that is, but Divers are still going to commit to the plan.
Yeah, this is going to be an early plant here for the Direwolves. The question is, though, the retake potential. Is it viable for Invictus? Luna seeing if he can get some prowess from outside that White Stairs window. Instead has to find the kill onto Jackie Wu after he got one onto Jordan. Now suddenly time against Invictus here, and not only that, but they've just lost Luna. Speak easy, such a talented player. But in a 1 versus 3, plant already down, time against him. Very much impossible, especially with Pika on that cocktail window. Great start from Direwolves, and kind of was already playing into what I was mentioning, but I anticipated we wouldn't see much innovation, but hey, just something a little different for a second there, guys. Does just throw Invictus off.
Yeah, I think it's thrown us off probably as much as it did Invictus. We were anticipating a very on-meta game style from both rosters, but I was throwing that out a little bit there, going for the cocktail take, and maybe Invictus heading into this with having a similar mindset to us, just expecting stock standard cafe and being able to win out as many of those mini games on the defense as possible. But they got thrown off guard, numbers whittled down, and unfortunately a couple of early picks there for Divers kind of spelt their demise. With the main disadvantage, they weren't really going to be in a position to retake the site. And that's a good start for Divers. Now, they can't rely on cheese strats like that to work every single time. I don't anticipate that to work against a team like Invictus. So I'm now interested to see how do they approach the rest of these objectives. Are they going to go off meta still, or maybe go a little bit more stock standard?
Yeah, I agree as well that you're not going to be able to do that every single round for a couple of reasons. Of course, you know, sites change. Like, we're not on Bar Cocktail anymore, suddenly we're on to Reading Fireplay, so you're going to be able to have a gimmick, I guess, as you will here. Probably less so, at least compared to Bar Cocktail. And even when we do eventually sort of swing back upstairs, I don't think you're going to be able to repeat that. It will be interesting, of course, for Invictus, how they're going to set up. Conventionally, you will, of course, extend above 2 or 3 players around that cocktail area, so it could still be susceptible to a top floor gimmicky attack from Direwolves if they do go for something. Maybe east side windows, try and flush those players out of cocktail immediately. Well, that's 2 rounds in a row now. Direwolves has done something unconventional. This time, though, not to their benefit.
I don't even know how that
I have no idea.
Happened. It's not like it's even in line with a default cam angle or something. Maybe you're shooting the window. I don't know. Super weird. But unfortunate there for Direwolves. That's the buck taken off the board. That's going to limit the amount of verticality that Direwolves now have available, as there's no sledge in substitution. Do still have other key operators up, like the double hard bridge, to get map control, but Invictus, they won't know it yet, but they're going to be quite comfortable on site.
Yeah, I don't see how Direwolves are going to be able to bring this one back unless they try and force something somewhere. Maybe less so about opening up sightlines and more maybe about trying to take fights and open up actual hard bridge positions. They definitely can't go for that soft floor position, say cocktail, and get that vert control established, and yet they're playing for it. We do see sometimes teams actually fall off the sweep on the top floor, Guz, and they rotate down towards pillars.
Direwolves in this instance, now I'm not an IGL, I don't play the game professionally, but we do, as you mentioned, see teams switching up when they lose the soft breach. Maybe the better option here would be to go straight pillar, reading wall, go for push that way. Even sometimes through train in towards dining can work out. Now it is incredibly risky. It's probably honestly not really going to work out again against a team like Invictus, but they need to do something. Going for this top floor take is going to waste so much utility, and they can't even get over the first hurdle. Speak easy. Drops Jackie. We almost get to second, flushed out there by the firebolt, but going to regress. Wow. 2 picks elsewhere, and the round's over. Yeah,
I mean, the round was probably over when they lost Souffle. We didn't quite get to catch how that happened, the team kill, but nevertheless, I think we really hit the nail on the head there that they needed to adapt off losing the soft breach. Even just losing a play in general, and time was already against them. Needed to adapt, needed to go for a different take, but they already were up against it anyway. Invictus take the round, they make it 1-1.
And that was the round where, or an instance rather, where they kind of needed to go for a quote-unquote cheese strat, go for something off meta. If you don't have your soft breach, that's kind of the whole point of that strat broken apart, because you can't pressure players out of sight. Whereas if you were to transition over towards train or pillar and open up some of those reinforced walls, that way you could actually dislodge players on site, try and isolate a couple of ones. But Divers didn't go for that, and honestly, even if they did have Souffle up, with hindsight being 2020, they would have lost the round anyway, right? Speak easy over towards private, and Pixel position just flawless, doing a really good job in holding that, and even with all that utility being thrown his way, able to find picks, and the rest of the team cleaning up as well.
Attackers need to locate and defuse bombs.
Hard to really gauge too much off that round, of course. It's a gimme. It's a freebie for Invictus, the first round, a freebie for Direwolves, and I feel like we're 2 rounds in and we haven't probably got a clear picture as to how things are really going to play out here. Now that we head down to the first floor, to kitchen, maybe we might see a bit of normality here on Cafe, a map where we tend to see a lot of it. How are Direwolves going to play this? A heavy emphasis on sort of freezer side? Is it going to be a bakery push? They've only got the one hard breach, and they have the glass. I'm kind of sensing Bakery might be the play here.
5 seconds to go.
Could well be. Capital is an interesting decision. That's the one that's standing out to me. Now, typically you would bring Capital to clear out positions, and I guess they're playing into the Wamai ban. They're preventing those projectiles from being caught. Jordan gets an opening pit, and Souffle down once again right at the start of the round, so they're going to lose that soft breach. On a site like this, probably not quite as impactful, but nonetheless, disappointing.
Direwolves already shaping up for a heavy emphasis here on Bakery. They're going to drone out a few members, or at least try and see if there's anyone in here, but no, there's no one. This is actually going to work perfectly for Direwolves. Shadow's already in. That's not a Gemini, and now they can actually get Jackie Wu in and open up this wall, and kind of playing out to the way I thought this would with that glass, and obviously you just try and open up these walls. The glass can then just look all through sight. Well, this is kind of cheeky.
That's a fair boost, yeah. Now that's peeking all the way down in towards.
Oh,
wait, the flash from Hysterics.
What are you doing, Shadow?
Jordan as well.
Why are you not watching?
Taken down. It's a flawless round. I don't know why that flank is not being watched, but...
What? Okay,
That's a pretty fundamental mistake.
That's a little bit of a slip up from Shadow, unfortunately. Has to be watching for the flank. I liked it though, nevertheless, from Direwolves. I think if you execute that better, guys, there's something to it. Got Bakery control, had good, vision into sight with the glass, nice cheeky on the boost. And again, we're seeing some of that mini innovation from Direwolves, but just a slip up in the execution of it lets them down. Easy round win for Invictus, 2-1.
Attackers need to locate.
But again, it's another round where it's hard to see. Is there a bit of a footing here from both teams? We're seeing some slightly different innovations come out. Therefore, it's hard to predict as to how this match is going to play out.
And as I was going to mention just a little bit earlier, backtracking to that previous round before Souffle got dropped, the Capital being brought here from Direwolves is actually a pretty good innovation. They're playing into their own ban, keeping in mind that the Wamai magnets can, in fact, catch those bolts. So taking the discs off the board means that you can get a lot more maneuverability and a lot more for your worth. So we need to try and see Direwolves actually get into stages of the round where they can use that utility properly. Now, we didn't see an extension from Invictus. They didn't necessarily need to use it there to clear out anything, but yeah, if you can't hold flanks, you're not going to get in execute positions to actually play off the util that you're bringing onto the board. So you can bring as many fancy things as you want into a round. The angles there on the boost for a great example, but if you're not doing your fundamentals on a stale map like Cafe, you are going to be punished by the best teams. So we need to see Direwolves tidy that up.
Attackers have dropped the bomb diffuser.
Still, ever since that opening round to the Direwolves, Invictus have been able to at least claw back 2 rounds in a row. And if they can find a third here on Bar Cocktail, of course, the site they lost originally, suddenly they've done the World Tour and go up 3-1. And for the amazing start that Direwolves had, it's all then for naught.
Bomb located by attackers.
Jordan holding a pretty usual setup here inside the shop. On the mute shotgun, he's got the shield, he's got the ADSs, barricade behind him. Wow, that actually hit Jackie Wu. Thought for a second that might have missed. Thought maybe he got back in time.
Oh,
wasn't to be.
God.
And even though he was full white, still got the down. Souffle, though, got the kill. That matters just a wee bit more. Jackie Wu's back up. Diffuser still in hand for Direwolves. Minute 45 seconds remaining, but this is still better. Luna, talk about just opening up that barricade. It's like they just let them in. Like sardines caught in a trap. They are absolutely bamboozled by this play from Invictus.
Yeah, pre-prepped there by Invictus. They punched it in preparation, and now Speakeasy off that drone sound cue, jumps out and gets another. They are catching the Direwolves off guard at every single stage. Every single pick, the attacker has been caught off guard. And that is just the aggression that Invictus are bringing into this matchup. They are dictating the pace so far.
I've already written this one down as a win, guys. It's in the books. It's done.
I called it a win before.
Yeah, well.
Oh, I was talking about the match, not the round, but the round is also going to be a win.
Oh, yeah, I was mainly just talking about the round. The match is still alive, and Direwolves are going to need to pick up the pace a little bit. They have just been caught with their pants down in this round. I'm liking what I'm seeing from this game, though, so far, 4 rounds in. This is not your usual cafe, and that's good. That's a good thing. Unfortunately for Direwolves, though, it's starting to go against them. The tide is turning. They kind of brought this upon themselves with that early innovation in the first round, and since then, Invictus have just been a bit more switched on.
Attackers drop the diffuser.
Strikes inside a launcher, no doubt going to find another, and does. It's only a matter of time before Invictus close out the round. It's ED again, left to clutch up. It feels like
Attackers have recovered their
a third time he's been left in this scenario, at least twice that I can recount. Makes his way over towards Pixel, but these angles being covered. Intel being fed through the bulletproof. He hits a nice flick. Invictus need to be careful now, but Speakeasy is just too good.
So suddenly 3 in a row now for Invictus Gaming off the back of the opening round going to Direwolves. They kind of established themselves a little lead nice and early on. So early on, and so much of a lead, that a tactical timeout has already been called from Direwolves, which is quite concerning to a degree. I guess an early way of trying to stem the bleeding, perhaps.
Direwolves have recognized how valuable the attacking side here on Cafe is going to be. I think that it is going to be an attacker-sided map with Mirror taken down, Wamai as well. A lot of those extremely problematic positions are not necessarily easy to clear, but easier. And we're seeing so far Invictus not backing down without a fight. Even with Wamai taken down, they're still extending Jaeger and Aruni. I personally didn't think they were going to play this aggressive, and maybe Direwolves haven't either. So now they have an opportunity to let that sink in, reset, try and win the next 2 rounds. If Invictus really extend this lead even further and gain even more momentum, it's a train that is just not going to slow down. They show no mercy at the moment. Invictus, they very rarely slip up, and they have been doing a really good job, particularly in stage 3, of just closing games out. That's why they're at the top of the standings.
Yeah, they've been a lot more consistent with their playstyle and their approach to these games. Obviously, the first couple of stages, most importantly stage 1, was quite abysmal for the most part. Just could not really string together any sort of semblance of confidence or consistency, I guess. And look, obviously it was a bit of a shock to see how sort of stage 1 played out, but ever since then, you know, stage 2 made the major, did all right. Now stage 3 dominating. You can almost forget about stage 1 at the beginning of the year, and it's a new look Invictus, a rejuvenated Invictus as well. Speakeasy has been by far and away the best player. Probably if we were to have an MVP for the year, he'd have to be #1 for APAC South. So they've just got everything ticking at the moment. Everything's going perfect. The Direwolves, it's probably the complete opposite here for stage 3.
Yeah, I don't know if Direwolves have necessarily taken a backward step. I think it's more so the rest of the league is taking strides forward, and they're now finding themselves trailing. Heading into stage 1, that was kind of the storyline. They were behind the rest of the pack. We didn't have big expectations on them, but we saw a lot of promise, a lot of potential and results to back that up. But stage 3, it's all kind of just slowed down. That momentum's halted, and this matchup in particular probably going to be a rude awakening if they haven't already had that. So they need to try and put up a fight here, a big gutsy effort. At the very least, don't get stomped in this game, because Direwolves still have a critical couple of games to go to avoid relegations, right? If they get slammed here and they let that chalk the mental, then those last couple of playdays are going to be even more challenging than they already are.
I think the other thing to note as well with stage 1 was it definitely was a sort of feeler stage where these teams hadn't all necessarily played against each other. Now by stage 3, they've all got multiple games against each other and how they all play, and the league as a whole and how it plays. So I think you've got probably a better look as to where these teams actually do stack up here in stage 3. I'll buy obviously some pretty wacky results with, you know, Elevate, Knights down the bottom, for instance. So that probably doesn't help back up my point, but I think you know what I'm getting at here as we head into the 5th round.
The way I would summarize it is, if you had shortcomings or weaknesses heading into stage 1 of APAC South this year, those weren't exposed. Whereas now, towards the back end of the year, there's so many more flaws. There's a lot more data out there for teams to work off. If you have shortcomings and you don't address them, teams, and the good teams, are going to exploit that. And I think for me, that's what has sort of separate Invictus from the rest of the pack. They are playing to their opponents, not necessarily, you know, playing into them, also having a good read on them and being able to play against them. And that's why they have been one of the more consistent rosters so far, whereas we are seeing some of the other teams kind of lag behind and really struggle with consistency issues.
It's that opening kill, by the way. Shadow onto Hysterics as we actually edge closer to the 1 minute mark. If a reading Fireplace. Somewhat of a do or die. Speak easy though, makes it all too easy for Shadow. That was a little bit ambiguous as Joe still holding top white. He ends up dying behind him to Pika, and this round is falling apart. Invictus getting slaughtered upstairs.
Yeah, it seems like every time we praise a team, they get slammed. So
wow.
I'm just not going to say anything for the rest of this matchup. Jordan in the 1-on-5 over towards White Stairs, tries to regress, finds one. But I don't think he's going to win this, no. Because another pick, but obviously not enough.
Okay, so we didn't quite see where Hysterics died. That was somewhat early on into the round, but everything else from Direwolves was pretty conventional. I mean, the top-down sweep, trying to push across from Cigar over towards Cocktail. They just found the kills so easily and decently quickly as well. It's fine to maybe lose a player, maybe even sometimes two, but if you can at least force, say, 50 seconds remaining on the clock by the time you get access to Cocktail, the opposing team that is, then sometimes you can sort of bring it back with 3 players on site, 4 players on site, or at least close by. But nevertheless, that was an interesting round. Full credit to Direwolves though, and definitely full credit to Shadow for finding that opening pick. Of course, it's never a good feeling when you sort of come into a team. I don't know how much time Shadow's really spent playing with this team as a core 5, but had that team kill earlier on, kind of redeemed himself here in this previous round.
Yeah, that last round was nothing special really from Direwolves, just solid siege. Invictus throwing away a couple of picks, and the real danger man for Invictus, Speak Easy, was probably one of the more questionable frags of the bunch there. He was playing in that Cocktail position, went for that kind of like bait punch on the wall and got super aggro and just completely shredded. So I don't know if that was some sort of desperation play from him, but once he died, the rest of the team really found life difficult. So Invictus need to just steady the ship here. We know that from what we've seen so far, we can probably assess that they are the stronger team, deserved of that first position here in Stage 3, but they're also not completely immune from mistakes. We have never had a team in APAC South that has been absolutely 100% dominant without making any mistakes at all. I mean, that's very rare in any league, but particularly here in APAC South. So Invictus, again, they have weaknesses that can be exploited. Sometimes teams just struggle to play into that, so Direwolves need to really capitalize upon that, try and even out the half.
Go down to Kitchen for our final round of the opening half. Direwolves can make this a contest here if they can win this round. Essentially, would be doing the World Tour themselves, in fact. Doesn't happen too often that both teams win every single site. Speak Easy gets the info from the Gemini, but of course it goes both ways. Now relocates back towards Cocktail. Now this is a sort of reading Fireplace kind of setup inside a Cocktail, more so than anything here from IG. And despite that, of course, it's Kitchen. Now, if Direwolves had gone for maybe that rush Bakery, you would have sensed they would have rotated back still. Jackie Wu finds that opening pick onto Hysteric. Speak Easy, bit of an off angle here inside it, but loses the fight anyway to ED. Suddenly it's not all so easy for Speak Easy, and neither for Invictus either. They're down to just 3 players remaining.
Second time now, IJ failed to hold up above. Joe needs to get down ASAP. Oh, it was a Gemini. I was baited. But it has been a very rough start for IG. Direwolves committing to the map clear, and it does pay off. Good information in towards the objective itself as well here, so we may well have more of a match in our hands than I expected.
Don't want to get too ahead of ourselves though, guys, do we? But still, this is some good signs for Direwolves heading into the second half to force a 3-3 scoreline, especially considering the way things were playing out. Jordan, that C4 is not going to quite get Shadow. It got stuck on the railing. Had it gone over, would have found the kill. It's just those little things not quite going the way here for Invictus. Does find that kill though onto Jackie Wu. Although immediately traded by Pika, and suddenly this round is also over, and we haven't really had a super close kind of round, guys. They've all been pretty one-sided, all 6 of them.
Is there any chance we actually see some kind of execute in this game. That might be nice to see.
No.
As Shadow rounds it out. And that's a 3-3
Wow.
half. We actually have a serious game on our hands. I thought this was going to be a bit of a sleeper, but Divers are making something of it.
Yeah, they certainly are. And to their credit, they're actually playing pretty well in the last 2 rounds. We maybe, just prior to the TAC timeout from Direwolves, maybe wrote them off a little too early. It was 3-1. Invictus had just done the World Tour. They were pretty much having their way with Direwolves. They called the TAC timeout, and I said maybe it was a little too early. I'll take that back. Little egg on my face. They called that at the perfect time, guys. There's always that sort of talk. A team's going to call it too early? Are they going to call it too late? I mean, I've seen some called it, 5-5 or 5-6. Maybe you could have called it earlier if the other team got 3-4 rounds in a row. But nevertheless, they call it nice and early. 1-3. Still enough time, at least in the opening half, to find 2 rounds, and they've gone and done that. You call it after 4 rounds. Things are not quite going your way, and you bring it back, you close out the first half. Now you go to the defense on Cafe, which usually does play out well for teams, and I can easily now see Direwolves having, say, like a 4-2 half.
Whoa, okay, those Mozzie passes are pretty cool there from Shadow. I actually don't think I've ever really seen anyone place them in that way. Actually up sort of around the perimeter of the exterior hatch. That's something cool. I don't know how effective that'll actually be in catching drones, so we'll have to see. Maybe if Invictus's drone count withers down, it could be as a result of some of that cheeky utility place. Mute jammers as well. So Direwolves are desperately trying their hardest to deny information gathering here for Invictus, and that's probably a great play. Invictus headed by Luna in that IGL position. If they have information, they have the discipline, the communication, and the micro as well to follow up on that information, so denying it could well be critical.
Now I feel like it's time for Invictus to sort of innovate a little themselves here in the attack. It's been that kind of game here on Cafe. I don't know if Conventional's going to get the job done. Direwolves have... Oh, yeah, and that's Sawyergate too. This is very intriguing.
I want to see, does this drone get caught in the... No, not this one. There was one over towards the red hatch. I think he got off at whoever was operating it. I don't know. I'm getting way too excited about this.
I'm with you there, guys. I'm with you. I think one did go down, though, and I kind of feel like it didn't catch any.
Not too sure. A little bit tricky to say. Nonetheless, though, that Gemini heading forward will gain really good information inside a shop. Looks clear. Luno follows it up with a drone, so these mute jammers are not being as effective as maybe they would have liked. Not stalling out as much time here for Invictus. I still think time management's okay, but the next 30 seconds is going to be critical, right? If Invictus don't get any decent pressure or a pick or two over towards Cocktail, then it really starts to mount against them.
I feel like usually the pass mark here is...
Oh, no.
Well, okay, Luna, I don't know what's going on here. Pika just gets super aggressive, runs out to the terrace, finds that kill. That's got to be the round here. If anything, it's got to be now an adjustment here from Invictus. Time to give up on this, drop pillars, force a fight, because you've got 1 minute and 7 seconds left. You haven't even got past, the player sitting inside a freezer, the player in Cocktail. Backstore hasn't been cleared. White corridor hasn't been cleared.
They are completely stalled right now. I don't even know if Shadow's position is revealed.
Oh, never mind. He has actually
snuck
in.
Sneak forward. This could be big.
Yeah, gets one. Might be able to find a second since he can't quite drop down that hatch, playing closer towards the balcony. Shadow, though, just holds his position. 38 seconds left. Still not much time here.
Stunned.
Definitely going to lose his life to Jordan. Now gives Invictus the advantage. They clear out top floor. They've still got to deal with some of these roamers on the mid floor here on Cafe. 30 seconds left. Peek over towards White Stairs, seeing if maybe he can go for some sort of a flank, maybe at the end, push all the way up, try and catch someone still late inside a Cocktail. But now it's the default plant here at the shelf. ED inside of reading. Red time, push in. But it's an easy read. You know that play is coming every single time, isn't it? Shotgun as well with the reposition. Well played from ED. That could be the round, and it looks like it will be. Hysterics can't get to Diffuser. It's 4-3. To the Direwolves.
Operators, you are out of time.
It was a good effort from Invictus to bring it back from that position. Joe going unchecked along the white hallway almost got them back in towards that round. In fact, they did a good job from that point onwards, clearing the top floor. But then the issue was sight. ED lying prone behind the couch. You're not going to expect that. Went completely unchecked himself. Dropped the diffuser, and then Souffle, who was probing for that roam for what felt like at least 2 minutes, also got in on the action and helped seal the round. So a good start for DW on the defense.
If Invictus lose this round, they have to call attack timeout. That's definitely the margin here. I can kind of forgive 4-3 being not a doomsday kind of scoreline, but it is now 3 rounds in a row for Direwolves. And that was also the point in which Direwolves called their timeout after Invictus had won 3 in a row. They called that timeout and brought things back. And I think IG need a way to slow down this momentum that the Direwolves have picked up ever since that tactical timeout. They've come out like a new team. They've got 3 round wins. They've been just a little bit cleaner in their execution. That was probably the thing lacking the most in the opening 3 rounds, guys, was the execution of Direwolves. So now they've been able to clean that part of the game up a bit, and they're able to take this lead and look like the team that can actually take this match.
5 seconds left before insertion.
Quite interested to see if that issue that we saw on the top floor of Invictus getting stalled out, is that going to be a common trend throughout this second half? The top floor extension, or this top floor setup, if you don't really want to call it an extension when they are defending the top floor, is something that Invictus is going to have to deal with on multiple sites. It's just the nature of how the map plays out. And Pika getting that first pick onto Joe with a spawn kill, nonetheless, is another great start. If Invictus weren't already finding this top floor setup difficult, it's now going to be even harder.
They've done it a few times. Almost got one back there, though, Invictus onto Shadow, just under half health, and just couldn't quite find the elimination, though. And that's probably the way things are going for Invictus right now. One gets spawn kill, you try and get that trade through the window, and of course, you just can't quite get enough damage. Maybe a bit of a pinch here. Pika does go down to Luna. That's not quite the original player.
Ooh,
in fact,
that was
I think,
a bit ambitious.
Went for the run out.
Yeah, man advantage going for that kind of play. Risk assessment would tell me probably not on the cards.
You can win the round off
if
that.
You win, yeah, 100%. That's what I was going to say. You pull it off, you win the round. But if you lose it, now you've given Invictus the in. Pika, one of the top fraggers, in fact, the second top fragger for Direwolves. I'm guessing he had the Roni in hand. He could do a lot of work. Already deployed his utility, doesn't need to worry about that. Can run around firing kills, but has now been nullified. Invictus, again, they will make you pay for any mistakes you make.
Yeah, for Bar Cocktail as well, if you're going for this more conventional push from Cigar side, time is not really as much of an issue because you're so close to that bar site. Usually we see teams really use all of that clock, guys, clear all of that utility. It's a little old meta in its approach here on this site when you do go for this play, and it does give the attacking team a lot of time to maybe find some picks and try and clear out these players in washrooms, in backstore, which is probably what Invictus are going to do for the next 40 seconds, and then eventually they'll open up that bar wall in full and they'll go for the plant.
Yeah, the Electro Claws, just like last time on the extension, are really posing issues here. No Thatcher, of course, as Direwolves banned it out. And Invictus are finding these walls tricky to open up. Unlike the Direwolves, they aren't bringing the Maverick to counter it, instead relying on Jordan, but there's not much he can really do. Hysterix does do something, however. ED off the board. 40 seconds left, and the attack has the man advantage.
Yeah, and again, it's just all about whittling this opposing team down for Invictus. You've got so much time, but by playing it this way, if Shadow, say, catches someone here late in the round, maybe just throws their entire attacking round into a bit of a tailspin, and it doesn't even look like they're going for that left-hand side wall. They're going to just try and come through the doorway, and Shadow is ready for it, but Hysterix on the angle through Cigar Shop is able to find that kill, not even allow any sort of a cheeky play. Direwolves now starting to push up, knowing that this plan is coming. Jackie Wu with 2 is able to stop both Hysterix and Jordan. Luna goes down, they all go down, 1 by 1. It's now a 1v1. Souffle inside a Cocktail, won't lose this. Direwolves make it 4-zip. 4 in a row, guys, and suddenly edging closer to a match point.
They hold on. Jackie with an enormous swing, able to tame the 416 recoil. In fact, I think it helped him pop those 2 heads.
What? There it is.
A play. And there we go, the attack and response.
Look, I don't mean to tell you I told you so, guys, but I did tell you so that if that Direwolves were to have won this round, it would be a 5-3 scoreline and attack timeout from Invictus, and that has indeed been the case. 2 attacking round wins from Direwolves, then 2 defending round wins from Direwolves. That's their last 4 round wins. They've gone from a 1-3 scoreline to a 5-3 scoreline, and suddenly you know, 1v8's turning out to be a bit of a banger.
I can't believe this league, bro.
What is this league?
There are words I want to use to describe what I'm seeing right now, but I don't think I'd be back for the next play day, so I'm going to refrain from using said words.
Wouldn't be back ever.
Yeah, probably not. Maybe again, I'll put my hands up and say I was being too harsh on Direwolves, no doubt. But you look at the standings. This is 1v last, and Direwolves, let's be frank, have not looked great in stage 3. Whereas Invictus continue to rise up and look amazing. That's not the case though in this matchup.
And to back you up there as well with that point, and I was definitely with you there inside of the first 4 rounds, is that even the opening round, okay, bit of a gimmick, bit of a rush kind of play, you know, try and get that couple of kills early on, catch them by surprise, like, okay, cool, you got that one, we'll get the next couple, and that's what Invictus did. They did get the next couple. They're like, ah, here we go, this is kind of what we'd expect to happen. They call that attack timeout, and it's like a brand new team has arisen. They've gone a little bit better with their execution. They're a little bit more conventional. They didn't quite go into the full gimmick side and have now just got that mini innovation going. And honestly, the Direwolves have just been the better team. Invictus, you got to ask some questions here. What's going on with Joe? 2 and 6, a bit rough. Speak easy. You know, I can't critique a man who's 6 and 5, but he's just not quite doing those speak easy things. To be fair, you can't always rely on that one player, and that's the thing maybe with Invictus. If speak easy's not popping off like he does literally every game, and he decides to finally have maybe the night off, who is going to stand up for Invictus? Because right now, no one is.
Yeah, just to reiterate the storyline of this matchup, if you're sitting at home and you're a Chiefs player or a Chiefs fan, again, you are hoping that Direwolves win this matchup. And what a play day the next one's going to be. Invictus and Chiefs essentially, I mean, not truly, but essentially battling it out for who goes straight to the major. I mean, that'd be crazy. So for that reason, I mean, I did think Invictus were going to win, but if Direwolves do it, I'm not complaining.
I hate Dev even more. I could have ended up casting that one, and now I don't.
Are you hosting?
Yep. Unfortunately, the man with blonde hair is just giving me the shaft on that little swap, Rooney, and now I get to miss out on that absolute banging matchup. That's all right.
Give it over to the big boys.
That's all right. Give it over to the best in the business. I mean,
I'm actually I'm not casting it. No, am I?
Yeah, you are. It's the last.
I am.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's go, Direwolves. I'm doing a flip-flop. I'm doing a flip-flop. I've ripped off my Invictus jersey. I'm all aboard the Direwolves train.
I was about to compliment Dev, by the way, but he said something rude to me, so I'll just hold my tongue there. Round 9 we go. Direwolves with a chance to get match point against Invictus. Of course, things can still turn around. By all means, Invictus off the back of a tactical timeout here, so expecting them to maybe find some rhythm and find some form. If you can get one here, suddenly 5-4, you break that momentum, you break that run of the Direwolves, and maybe you find a way back into this while there's still a chance.
Halfway through the round, Historics now gets a foothold inside of Mining. Is there a player in train? I saw an outline. It was Souffle exposed as those X-Kairos detonate. Spots the player in 90 through the drone hole. Can give a call out to ED, who gets a little bit aggressive, swings wide. Falls back though in towards reading under pressure from the Vert. Nitro Cell flies out. Doesn't find its mark, but Pika does, and that's the danger man off the board.
There's at least that immediate trade from Luna though, with just under a minute remaining here in the 9th round. Shadow peeking these pillar stairs. 4 versus 4. Luna completely low. Still one Nitrocell available for the Direwolves as Shadow finds the kill onto Luna. Shadow bringing things back after a slow start in his debut here. 3 versus 2 though, with the kill back from Hysterics onto Jackie Wu.
No diffuser. Joe tries to pick it up. Shut down by Souffle.
Wow.
And Direwolves are going to claim match point against Invictus. I can't believe I just said that, but the bottom team in APAC South just claimed match point against number 1.
I'm kind of speechless. Honestly, just a little bit speechless. Match point to the Direwolves. Thoroughly earned, might I add you, and a point guaranteed at minimum if anything does go sour from here, guys, which at the moment I don't think is looking very likely. This could be all 6 points picked up from Direwolves. This would actually bring us back to top spot, to last spot, being only 6 points of a gap. And that's still with their Knights Oh, no, actually, Knights have already played. That also means Knights actually, by the way, go dead last and solo dead last, guys. So, fun fact there. They'll be stuck.
The stage 2 #1 team is going to be last, and the current last team is going to be first place. I mean, that is... Yeah. I don't know how many different ways we can say that this league is baked, but it literally is. Like,
it further compounds that loss against the Chiefs as well, mind you. Had they won that, they would have actually been in 3rd place. So you go from a potential 3rd place to, or actually, sorry, they would have been 2nd, in fact. So from a potential 2nd to now ending the night in last. Wow, that's APAC South summed up there in one sentence.
And we could well and truly, I mean, I haven't done the math, but I would assume that when the final Playday comes around, bar some extraordinary circumstances, I reckon every single team playing, if they win, could probably make the playoffs.
Yeah, like the sort of wacky, if this happens and this happens, I think every team will have that
every single
scenario.
game is going to be super critical, and if it's not for playoffs, then it's for relegation. So that's the beauty of the year-long format.
You say that now, and I am thinking, going into Playday 6, there's probably then by that point going to be 3 to 4 teams that are, say, maybe 3 points above the others, but if they lose, then there's that draw potential. Because, like, suddenly the max points for certain teams is not really all that high. Chiefs can obviously pull away. Invictus can still technically pull away as well. So that leaves that 3 and 4 position a little vulnerable maybe going into the last day.
Yeah, for sure. Divers, though, have at least found 1 point in this matchup. That puts them even with wildcard. Still bottom of the standings, bottom 2 of the seasonal standings, but if they get all 3, then boy oh boy, they'll jump both wildcard and order, sending them back down to the bottom 2. So such an incredibly close battle at the bottom of the standings here for APAC South for their survival in the league, but that's not going to be in the minds of Direwolves at the moment. One step at a time. Their cafe so far has genuinely been really, really solid, and they'll be looking to just close this one out.
Time to just seal this win, get all 3 points, and get out of Dodge. This could be one of the biggest upsets, really, of this stage. Maybe, in fact, the biggest upset of the stage. And full credit to Direwolves. They've been amazing. They've brought innovation to a map that doesn't see much of it. They've been... And obviously now you probably go back to the more conventional structured approach. You've got the lead. You've kind of done the things that you needed to do to establish it. You back yourselves in. Shadow has just turned into a monster these last couple of rounds as well. Pika got traded, but there is Shadow again in the shadows. Gets the kill onto Hysteric, swings out, loses that to Joe. Can't quite do it all, but is doing enough to warrant his selection in this match. A minute left, 3 versus 2. Advantage for Direwolves. Speak Easy finally shows up. Makes it a 2 versus 2. And he gets the down onto ED. Finds the kill. Finds 3 now in this crucial match point round. 2 versus 1. And finally, Direwolves' little run of round wins is going to come to an end, guys. It's going to be 6-4.
There's just something so special about Speak Easy. He pulls that out from nowhere. Now looking to open up the barricade as Invictus will set up for a default plan. Souffle not in the best position, does have an angle though, and a nitro.
Can he create 2 1v1s? And obviously the health for Joe and Speak Easy, both neither at full. Should have information. He's got a nitro cell here, and he's going to throw it out. He's going to get this. Oh, he got shot out! It got shot out. Now Joe can get the diffuser down. He'll have Speak Easy watching this angle. Win the first fight! Win the first, and maybe you'll win the second. Yes, you will, Souffle! Cooks them up, puts them into the pan, makes a Souffle out of IG. The Direwolves, they go from Cubs to Wolves in this one. They go out of last place and keep their playoff hopes alive.
The bottom team in the APAC South Stage 3 and seasonal standings have just taken down Top Dogs. What an incredible storyline, an incredible result, and Direwolves have kept their spot in the league alive.
Absolutely speechless. Shaking, utterly lost for words. What a performance, what a result for the Direwolves, a much needed one. The perennial underdog, the team that everyone loves, Guz. Sure, they've struggled this day.